Indians.
Yes, they fought savagely, for they were a primitive people, and self-preservation is a primitive instinct.
You mentioned Pow Wow a lot, and I've always heard that word, and I kind of have like a vague idea, but I was wondering if you could kind of walk people through like what is a Pow Wow and kind of share exactly what it is
Yeah, I
for people
mean,
who are kind of unclear, like myself.
yeah, it's all good, man. Because a lot of times when people hear these words or about our culture, it's a lot of the times it's seen through and depicted through a lens that's not of our own. It's always been like Hollywood, a lot of movies, TV shows, just the mainstream media. It's always, when you watch old cartoons, you could still see them today. Not like, current cartoons, but like even like Disney or any cartoon that came from like 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s. You'll always see like the Indian as like the evil villain, or like they always make them look dumb, and they always make them look like savages, or like they're lower than the rest of the people characters. And so, getting into a way to share, when you ask this question, it's very important though too, even if you don't know. And there's nothing wrong with not knowing what a powwow is. And a powwow is basically it's a gathering, it's a ceremony, it's a way to bring dancers together. In more of the mainstream now today, there's competition, just like there is in breaking. There's categories, and powwow is not necessarily the most traditional part of our culture, because it also came from Wild Bill, which is a French Canadian or only actually not French Canadian. I can't remember. I don't really know too much about Wild Bill, other than knowing that powwows were created from performing. At the time, even the birth of Canada, when Canada, became a country, Canada, the government made it illegal for my ancestors, elders, for us to speak our language, for us to dance, for us to practice our culture, our ceremonies. It was against the law. People would get killed. People would get murdered. There was a lot of, rape, kidnapping. And at the time, that era was, the settlers that came here and created this country, they wanted to get rid of the savages. They wanted to take the Indian out of the man and make him into a westernized version of what they thought was fit for society. So powwow culture comes from also like performing for settlers and visitors of this land. And so it was a way for us to still be able to dance. And a lot of the dances are healing. It's a healing dance. It's a way to create hope, to show people to be proud. And when we were told that when we couldn't do it, it was just like, it was just powwow culture came about because it started to bring people around. It gathered people in a ways of like bringing community together, and it was more of us as Native people putting on a show for the white community. I'm not saying, I hope that doesn't come off the wrong way,
No,
but I'm just telling you how it is.
Yeah.
But later on, we adapted this into our culture because it was a way to celebrate, to celebrate these dances, to celebrate ceremony, to celebrate our heritage. And luckily, today it's not illegal, but that it's still the energy exists because, like I said, I think Canada now is celebrating its 154th or 55 or something like this. the birth of Canada. So you look back at like within those years, like the government of Canada made it illegal for us to do these things. So then, when we were able to finally be considered as human beings and or given at least some room to exist, of course Pow Wow, it was a way for us to just really gather and celebrate. And so if you ever get a chance to go to a powwow, you're going to see a lot of people in their traditional attire, which is best known as regalia. It's a borrowed word from royalty, because when we saw royalty reference their attire as regalia, it just seemed so badass to us, the information that I was shared, because we didn't want to. It's not a costume. A lot of we think of costumes. The first word that comes to my mind is like you're dressing up as a pumpkin or a witch on Halloween.
Yeah.
And when we put on these things, our traditional attire, our regalia, it's a representation of our spirit. It's a representation of our ancestors, of our culture. And so, when we borrowed that word, we're like, yeah, that's totally what explains what we wear is regalia. But if you go to a powwow, you're going to see many different styles. Some like grass dance, which is a style that I do. There's men's traditional, there's women's traditional, there's jingle dress, there's women's fancy, and there's a lot more. Men's fancy, and there's also with those styles being said, there's some of them that are more contemporary that have been created over the years, but also there's many traditional styles of the dance though too. Grass dancing being one of the original traditional dance styles though too, and women's traditional. And but yeah, basically think of it like to best kind of like help people understand what a powwow is. And if you're involved in breaking, it's like going to a b-boy jam, a break jam. It's like gathering people to give them a platform to share their style, to dance their style, and a place to to maybe win some money, because even in powwow culture, mainstream powwow, there's prizes for top dancers and second place, third place, and all that stuff. But it's basically, to come down to it, to kind of to give you it's ceremony. It's a gathering of community. Is a powwow. If you ever get a chance to go.
Yeah, is it is it specific to certain groups, or is it kind of like every Native group comes and participates, or whoever's in the local area or whatever?
Yeah, it depends, like the area you're in, the territory you're in, because if you go more West Coast, and I know you living in Vancouver with there's also Coast Salish and many, like I'm still learning about my area though too, and then I'm really lucky though too to be invited into those areas and learn that there's many tribes. Like if I don't know how to name off every single tribe out in the West, but there's many out there that have their own practices and they have their own ceremony. You don't really see the powwow culture out there. There has been more of as of lately, but their style of their culture is not like doing what you'll see out in the plains or what you'll see out in the East Coast. They have more like community gatherings where it's not like what you see, them going around the arbor, the circle. Excuse me, sorry. But it depends, like the area you come from or the area you live. You'll see powwow culture thrive, but also many different tribes are not, they don't have this within with their practice within their ceremonies. It's more of like families and gatherings, not more like inviting to all other tribes. But a lot of there's many ceremonies that do bring in that tribes allow to invite other people other than just Indigenous people though too. Even the powwow, a lot of people will think that powwows are only meant for Indigenous people to show up to, but it's definitely a welcoming area and about being inclusive and a way for us to share the beautiful side of our culture, opposed to what people will see on movies and what Hollywood has always depicted us as through their lens. But yeah, mainly like powwow culture definitely thrives within the Plains territory, all across the United States, though too. But if you go into like the West Coast, There's different practices. Same with even the East Coast. But also, they have adopted though too the styles because it's welcoming. It's a way for our tribes to connect, and you're gonna see different styles from different lineages though too. Different whatever tribe you come from. Like I know if you go out East Coast with the Mohawk Nation, they have what's called a smoke dance, and it's like, it's like a form of top rock and shuffling. It's crazy. Like the energy behind it. If you get a chance, give it a quick young YouTube and type in Mohawk smoke dance, and you're gonna see like some badass styles.
Nice.
And then like if you go up more north, the Inuit people, they have their own style. They have their own ceremonies and gatherings and social dances that are not like powwow culture, but they're in tune. They're very in tune in terms of ceremony. So it just depends like what area you come from that you'll more likely be exposed to powwow culture, or if you're in other areas where the other tribes have different ceremonies. It just really depends where you're from or what area you live in.
And then you mentioned like like their gatherings and it's about like healing, right? Dance, healing through dance. And I think back, I think it was you, or it might have been Angela, who shared this like quote about, I dance for those who can't dance, or I forget what it is. I dance for those.
Well, it's always a thing. Like
Yeah.
when we dance for those who are no longer able to dance. We're speaking of our elders who have done their part, who have paid their dues and have danced for the people as long as they could, and now their bones and body no longer are able allow them to dance, and so we continue that fire that they put out there. We continue that frequency, and so like we speak of like we dance for those no longer able to dance, even speaking in terms of maybe the ones who fall ill or the ones who we have lost, but then we also think about those newcomers, the new people, the new young ones, the ones being born. We dance. When we dance, we pray, and when we pray, we dance. We don't necessarily have like what Western culture has like churches with nothing wrong. I'm not talking about in any kind of malice way or in any negative way, but as Indigenous people, our ceremonies come within. It starts with you and how you build that around you. The medicine wheel, I spoke of that earlier, it's a wheel, and in that wheel, it has a divide of 4 different directions, and each one of these directions has color, and each one of them has a meaning, has like teachings of the seasons, of also the nations. There's different colors also. It may be separated, but each part of the medicine wheel are all equal. It's split up very equal in terms of, in order to have a balanced medicine wheel, you need to be able to create that medicine wheel with people from all nations. It's like in hip hop. If you're really true about hip hop culture, then that that you can't leave out other races because they're from different race. It's inclusive, and so the medicine wheel taught me that at a very young age, and I know I'm kind of like veering off the question, but
No, that's fine.
But these are all things that it starts with you. Like the whole thing is like you build that medicine wheel around you, and we speak of the main, the 4 pillars of the medicine wheel. We speak of the mental, the physical, the spiritual, and the emotional, and these are all things that you deal with as a human being every day. Some days you'll wake up and be like, oh man, I feel like powerful today, which is the physical, and then other days you think of like emotional. Sometimes your thoughts or words could really affect you more easy than other days, and so it's learning about how to like balance these things throughout your life and how to carry yourself, how to take care of yourself, but also how to treat others. It's always comes back to that of treating others how you want to be treated, and the medicine wheel teaches us that in ways to like build that community around you. You start in the middle. If you think of a circle, you're the middle, and you build that circle around you those strengths. It's like, you know, meeting your really good people, really good friends, and building good friendships, you know, good relationships with people. And you surround yourself with good, like other like-minded people that want also, you know, to do the same things as you, like create community or just love music, you know? And so this is something I always try to embody, you know. I continue to like embody into my work, how I dance, you know, my concepts, even in like, you know, dance patterns. There's the medicine wheel teaches us that as well. And just directions, you know, thinking in like circular motions. If you're a b-boy, b-girl, you break, you definitely know about circular thinking is about, you know, going one way, going the other, creating a pattern over here, doing that pattern over there, you know. So it's things like that just really, that I just see the parallels within. And then going back to your question, like, you know, when we dance, we always try to think of those, you know, our loved ones, you know, even their loved ones, you know, our friends and their families, and just continuously practicing putting out good energy, putting out, you know, more love than there is hate, you know, because as Indigenous people, the first meeting of contact, we definitely felt a lot of hate, even though like we put out a lot of love. It's like being taken advantage of, you know. So you know, going into that history. But, you know, fast forwarding again, your question, it's like, it's really important for us to, as Indigenous people, when we do our ceremonies, when we do our dances, is to think of, you know, those that, you know, don't have it necessarily as good as us being able to dance. It's a privilege to dance, you know what I mean? Like, to have the full function of your body and to be able to hear music, to feel music, it's a huge privilege. So we always like, you know, humble ourselves and bring us back to like that energy of like, you know, putting out positive energies, you know.